tranquil shores and vibrant culture of Negril have been shattered by the catastrophic force of Hurricane Melissa, which made landfall in Jamaica as a historic Category 5 storm on Tuesday, October 28, 2025. The hurricane, packing sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, unleashed its brutal power on the island's southwest, leaving the popular resort town of Negril in a state of chaos and ruin. The aftermath reveals a landscape transformed by immense wind damage, flooding, and a storm surge that has reshaped the coastline. As the eye of Hurricane Melissa passed dangerously close to Negril, located in the westernmost part of the island, residents and tourists experienced the full fury of one of the most powerful storms ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. A co-owner of Travelers Beach Resort recounted the terrifying moment the hurricane made impact in a video, with the sound of the wind described as the demonic wail before the feed was lost. Homes, hotels, and businesses in Negril have been torn apart by the ferocious winds. Reports indicate roofs were ripped off buildings, and debris was sent flying through the air like dangerous missiles. Torrential rains and a powerful storm surge, with waves reaching up to 13 feet, inundated Negril's low-lying coastal areas. Roads were turned into raging rivers, and many properties were submerged, creating a life-threatening situation. Power and communication lines were downed across the town, leaving residents in the dark and without contact. A local resident on Instagram described the system as not really moving and felt the effects intensify over time. The raw power of Melissa was captured in real time by those caught in its path. One Instagram user, who identified themselves as being in the westernmost part of Jamaica, Negril, posted a video on October 28th showing the full effects of the hurricane. The user noted, "I thought it was dying down, but I feel like it's gotten stronger. The slow-moving nature of the storm prolonged the destructive forces, exacerbating the damage." With power and communications down, the full extent of the damage in Negril is yet to be known. As the storm moved away and conditions began to improve, emergency responders faced immense challenges in reaching the hardest-hit areas. The cleanup and damage assessment process is expected to be slow, with officials warning that it could take days to weeks to fully understand the impact. The resort town, which relies heavily on tourism, has been dealt a crippling blow. Resorts and hotels have suffered significant damage, raising concerns about the long-term economic recovery of the community. Beyond the immediate devastation, Negril faces ongoing threats from the storm's aftermath. Health officials issued warnings about the potential displacement of crocodiles from their natural habitat due to flooding. The heavy rainfall has increased the risk of landslides, particularly in the hilly areas surrounding Negril. The scale of the rebuilding effort will be immense, with significant support needed to restore homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the Bahamas, next in Hurricane Melissa's path to the northeast, the government ordered evacuations of residents in southern portions of that archipelago, reports Reuters. Farther to the east, Hispaniola, the island shared by Haiti and the Dominican Republic, had faced days of torrential downpours leading to at least 4 deaths, authorities there said. Writing on X, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez said 735,000 people had so far been evacuated. Earlier, in a televised address to the nation and wearing an olive green uniform, Diaz-Canel urged the population to not underestimate the power of the storm, calling it the strongest ever to hit national territory.
Anything. The eye is over us, but you can't see nothing.
He asked residents to avoid bathing in swollen rivers and urged them not to leave evacuation sites until the order has been given. There will be a lot of work to do. We know there will be a lot of damage. In southwestern Jamaica, the parish of St. Elizabeth was left underwater, an official said, with more than 500,000 residents without power. The reports that we have had so far would include damage to hospitals, significant damage to residential property, housing and commercial property as well, and damage to our road infrastructure, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness said on CNN after the storm had passed. Melissa weakened to a Category 3 storm but has since strengthened to Category 4 as it neared the Cuban coast. Authorities there said they evacuated about 500,000 people from areas vulnerable to winds and flooding. President Trump said that the United States was prepared to help Jamaica after the island was hit by Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest storms on record. On a humanitarian basis, we have to, so we're watching it closely and we're prepared to move. It's doing tremendous damages as we speak, Mr. Trump said. While the rest of Jamaica reels from the devastating impact of the historic Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, the tight-knit community of Treasure Beach in the parish of St. Elizabeth is counting its blessings after being largely spared from the storm's most catastrophic effects. Despite initial fears of widespread destruction, with memories of past hurricanes still fresh in mind, resilient residents have emerged with a renewed sense of gratitude and determination. The National Hurricane Center reported that Hurricane Melissa made landfall on Jamaica's southern coast, with sustained winds reaching a staggering 185 miles per hour, making it one of the strongest storms ever to hit the Atlantic basin. As Melissa battered the island, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake, the path of the storm proved to be mercifully different for Treasure Beach. Reports indicate that the hurricane diminished in strength as it moved westward, diverting the worst of its fury away from the vulnerable coastal village and sparing it from the full force of its destructive power. Although Treasure Beach was spared the direct and catastrophic impact, the community was far from unaffected. Throughout Tuesday, residents huddled in shelters and fortified their homes as torrential rains and powerful winds lashed the coast. The skies turned a menacing gray, and the roar of the wind served as a constant reminder of the hurricane's nearby presence. Local resident Emma Sims, 37, shared her harrowing experience in a makeshift shelter within her cupboard. "I've tried to make it nice and comfortable," she said, describing how she had prepared for the worst. "There's snacks in there, there's water in there. If things sound like the house isn't gonna hold up, then I'm just gonna go in there. We're gonna stick a mattress on top of us and just keep my children happy until it passes. Try to make it fun and exciting." The minimal damage in Treasure Beach is a testament to the community's exemplary preparedness and collective resilience. In the days leading up to Melissa's landfall, local leaders and residents worked tirelessly to secure their properties, board up windows, and assist vulnerable neighbors. The lessons learned from previous hurricanes proved invaluable, as mitigation strategies and emergency plans were swiftly put into action. "The people here know how to take care of themselves and each other," said a representative from Breads, a local nonprofit organization focused on community development. "This isn't our first hurricane, and it won't be our last." The community rallied together, and that's the reason we're standing here today with minimal damage compared to other parts of the island. As the storm subsided and the sun rose over a relatively unscathed Treasure Beach, residents emerged to survey the area and begin the cleanup process. Fallen tree branches, scattered debris, and minor flooding were the most significant issues, a stark contrast to the reports of complete devastation from nearby parishes. The local fishing boats, which had been hauled to safety, were being carefully inspected for damage. Local businesses, many of which had been temporarily boarded up, were preparing to reopen their doors and welcome back the community. While Treasure Beach has been fortunate, its residents are acutely aware of the suffering experienced by other parts of Jamaica. Aid agencies, including IOM, Global Giving, and local NGOs like Helping Hands Jamaica Foundation, HHJF, are mobilizing resources and preparing to deploy to the hardest-hit areas. Many in Treasure Beach are already organizing donation drives and volunteer efforts to support their fellow Jamaicans in need. A video shared by the Jamaican Constabulary Force shows officers surveying extensive destruction in Black River, close to where Hurricane Melissa made landfall on Tuesday as a Category 5 storm. The footage showed downed power lines, piles of debris, and vehicles sitting in muddy water. Extensive damage was reported in parts of Clarendon in southern Jamaica and in the southwestern parish of St. Elizabeth, which was underwater, said Desmond McKenzie, Deputy Chair of Jamaica's Disaster Risk Management Council. The storm also damaged 4 hospitals and left one without power, forcing officials to evacuate 75 patients, McKenzie said. More than 500,000 customers were without power as of late Tuesday as officials reported that most of the island experienced downed trees, power lines, and extensive flooding. Internet connectivity in Jamaica dropped to a low of 42% of normal levels, according to Internet monitoring organization NetBlocks. The storm's heavy winds caused widespread damage to power and communications infrastructure, cutting off many parts of the country, NetBlocks said. The government said it hopes to reopen all of Jamaica's airports as early as Thursday to ensure the quick distribution of emergency relief supplies. Melissa has dumped significant amounts of rain throughout the Caribbean in recent days, with more to come.
Currently in Montego Bay.
In Jamaica, forecasters expect up to another 12 inches in some areas, on top of what has already fallen. In Cuba, totals could reach 20 inches or more through Wednesday. As the storm moves over the Bahamas, it's likely to bring 5 to 10 inches of rain. Some places along the southern coasts of Haiti and the Dominican Republic could end up with more than 40 inches of rain by the time the storm leaves the area, the National Hurricane Center said. Health Minister Christopher Tufton said some patients were relocated from the ground floor to the second floor, and we hope that will suffice for any surge that will take place. The storm was already blamed for 7 deaths in the Caribbean, including 3 in Jamaica, 3 in Haiti, and 1 in the Dominican Republic, where another person was missing. Colin Bogle, a Mercy Corps advisor based near Kingston, said most families are sheltering in place despite the government ordering evacuations in flood-prone communities. Many have never experienced anything like this before, and the uncertainty is frightening, he said. There is profound fear of losing homes and livelihoods, of injury, and of displacement.
Okay.
Matthew Samuda, Jamaica's Water and Environment Minister, said he had more than 50 generators available to deploy after the storm, but warned people to set aside clean water and use it sparingly. Every drop will count, he said. A hurricane warning was also in effect for the southeastern and central Bahamas, and a hurricane watch was in effect for Bermuda. A tropical storm warning was also issued for the Turks and Caicos Islands. The U.S. State Department issued natural disaster travel alerts for Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and the Bahamas on Monday, urging U.S. citizens to consider leaving while flights were still available or be prepared to shelter in place. CBS News confirmed that a Hurricane Hunters aircraft from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was forced on Monday to abort its mission when it experienced severe turbulence in the storm's southwestern eyewall. Videos circulating on social media captured flooded streets, submerged vehicles, and water pouring into Cornwall Regional Hospital, the city's main medical facility. Montego Bay's Sangster International Airport sustained significant damage, forcing the cancellation of all flights and stranding hundreds of travelers. Among them were Tonette and Tony Creighton, two American tourists trapped during the storm. Their mother, Sabrina Brown, expressed anguish over limited communication and the uncertainty of their return. Power outages swept across the region, and emergency services struggled to respond amid blocked roads and downed communication lines. The Jamaican Defense Force and international aid agencies began mobilizing rescue and relief operations, prioritizing evacuation from low-lying areas and restoring access to critical infrastructure. Melissa's deluge overwhelmed drainage systems, turning Montego Bay's streets into rivers. Coastal areas were inundated, and beachfront properties suffered extensive erosion and structural damage. Environmental experts warned of long-term ecological consequences, including contaminated water supplies and damage to coral reefs due to sediment runoff. The Great River, which runs near Montego Bay, overflowed its banks, threatening nearby communities and agricultural zones. Landslides were reported in hilly areas, further complicating rescue efforts. Thousands of residents were forced to flee their homes, seeking shelter in emergency centers set up in schools and churches. The Jamaican government declared a state of emergency, and Prime Minister Andrew Holness urged citizens to remain indoors and cooperate with relief efforts. Initial reports indicated no confirmed fatalities, but officials cautioned that the full extent of the human toll would only become clear in the coming days. Many families remain unaccounted for, and communication with remote areas is still limited. Montego Bay began the arduous process of recovery. Engineers assessed the damage to roads, bridges, and public buildings, while utility crews worked to restore electricity and water. The Tourism Ministry announced plans to support affected businesses and expedite repairs to key tourist infrastructure. International partners, including the United Nations and Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, DEMA, pledged support. Relief supplies, food, water, medical kits began arriving by air and sea, though distribution remains hampered by logistical challenges. Meteorologists called Melissa a generational storm, noting its unprecedented strength and rapid intensification. The hurricane's trajectory and behavior have reignited debates about climate change and Caribbean vulnerability, with scientists pointing to warming ocean temperatures as a key factor in Melissa's explosive growth. Jamaica's disaster preparedness protocols, though improved in recent years, were tested to their limits. Experts emphasized the need for resilient infrastructure, early warning systems, and community education to mitigate future disasters. Local residents shared harrowing accounts of survival.
No, I was in Georgia.
The roof flew off like paper. We huddled in the bathroom, praying it wouldn't collapse, said Marcia Thompson, a Montego Bay resident. I've lived here 40 years. I've never seen anything like this, said taxi driver Desmond Clark. It's not just the wind. It's the fear, the uncertainty. Despite the devastation, stories of solidarity and resilience emerged. Neighbors helped each other evacuate, shared food, and comforted children amid the chaos. As Montego Bay begins to heal, the legacy of Hurricane Melissa will shape Jamaica's future. The storm exposed vulnerabilities but also highlighted the strength of community and the importance of preparedness. Recovery will take months, possibly years, but the spirit of Montego Bay endures. From the ruins, a more resilient city may rise, one better equipped to face the storms of tomorrow.